All right, welcome to the show. I'm Andrew, and that's Ted.
Yep, I'm Ted. we're gonna talk about some films and the film industry coming from two different perspectives, two different age groups.
Most definitely. Generational divide, but
That's right.
yet a passion for the industry.
That's right.
We took on the task of watching Munsters.
It was a task.
The Munsters. The Rob Zombie remake of the television series with Herman Munster and Lily and wow.
Wow is right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna say it. It's the worst thing I've ever seen that had a big budget, a bigger budget.
Well, having watched Rob Zombie movies, I was really surprised, one, when it was rated PG. Mm-hmm. And I think and no offense, but I think we learned that Rob Zombie cannot make a family-friendly movie. It's just not there.
Well, I think there's some issues that I have with Rob Zombie. Like, before we even dissect this movie, here's the thing. I appreciate Rob Zombie's aesthetic. I appreciate what he's going for. I love The Devil's Rejects.
The Devil's Rejects.
It's great. House of a Thousand Corpses is great. I enjoyed his take on Michael Myers in that first Halloween that he did. But the problem is, like, when you become your aesthetic and what your film looks like more than what the substance of the script is. Like, I like Sherry Moon Zombie. I find her very pretty.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes she's great, but, like, not every single movie does she need to be one of your main people.
Well,
I guess if it's your wife, I'm not married, it's like...
Well, yeah. There might be some trust issues there. I don't know. I'm just, you're right. She's in every movie. Keeping the money in the family, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean... I guess I look at, like, someone like, what's his name? Edward Scissorhands' director that I'm blanking on. Tim Burton. I look at Tim Burton, who's been nominated for a bunch of Oscars, has done great movies, has an aesthetic. You know it's a Tim Burton movie.
Oh, yeah.
You just know it is, but, like, you get it. But he still can tell a story without just being, like... hit Big Eyes. He did that movie Big Eyes like 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah. I didn't know it was a Tim Burton movie for like 25, 30 minutes. I was like, oh, this is just a movie. Uh-huh. And I don't think that Rob Zombie has the ability to do that.
Okay. I didn't see that movie, but I saw this one, and I've seen Rob Zombie movies before, and that was not what I was expecting. It was way too visually animated from what I was anticipating. The color schemes were just really kind of weird. I mean, the feel of the movie, I almost thought he was trying to copy Tim Burton.
It felt like to
get that look.
Right.
To looked get like the aesthetics of a Tim Burton movie.
You know how telenovela looks? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like,
no.
It's Mexican soap opera, telenovela.
Yeah.
It looks like that. It looks like super shiny. Like,
it did.
Like the cameras that they're using are like, because I think he shot this like a play. He had to, because it looked like they were on sets, and it looked like they were doing like,
oh, definitely
longer takes, and like I don't think he was. I'd be willing to bet once he set up one side, he just shot everything in just like 4 takes and did the whole thing and then flip sides. Because they're not cutting into close-ups, really.
No. I just, the thing that had me stupefied from the get-go was the overacting, the over character playing. Oh. It was, that just, I watch movies for that as much as anything. I look at the acting and then the storyline, and then the rest of it all kind of falls in place for me. The cinematography and you take the Queen's Gambit. Mm-hmm. I mean, what an incredible series that was for me. And I was within the second episode of the series, I was now looking at everything else other than the acting because I was already blown away by the performances of everybody in that cast. So now I was noticing how the director and or the DP were using different types of color, going from sepia tones and black and white into, just the old film style color. And I was just, so I was tracing that. But in this, I could not get beyond the acting. I mean, before we did this podcast today, I was going, all right, I'm going to sit down and watch it again. And I couldn't pull myself to it. It was just...
I fast forwarded through scenes the first time. There were parts where they would just keep talking and I just fast forwarded because I was like, top to bottom, every actor turned in a terrible performance.
Right.
And I know that there's the guy that plays Grandpa has been in everything.
Yeah.
He's a good actor. He knows what he's doing.
Right.
I mean, it was just awful. Richard Brake, the guy that played Nosferatu and the grave robber at the beginning.
Yeah.
Good actor.
Actually, funny you say that because I was like, he was the only actor there.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
He was.
And Elvira, let's give her a due. Okay. She was good.
She was good. But yeah, no, I had a lot of issues with the acting. I couldn't look beyond it. It was just...
The guy that played Herman Munster was horrid and should never be... I've seen him in other stuff and he's never been great. He's just in all the Rob Zombie stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So...
No. Wow. That was a lot to take in, and that's 2 hours of my life that will never come back.
That's the other thing. It's so long.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's long.
It is.
I had to take 3 sittings. Since I told you we should watch the Munsters, I have had 3 full sit downs. In the last one, I popped a beer because I was like, I've got an hour and 10 minutes. I've got to get through this.
And at no point between those 3 sittings did you decide to pick up the phone or text me and say, forget it, let's find something else.
Well,
if you haven't already watched this, let's just go on to something else. But no, to be fair, I could have liked it. It's a generational thing, so being fair to the show, being fair to the audience, I'm going to watch it representing the 50 plus generation, a product of the 80s here.
Yeah.
So no, that was not pleasant. That was painful, actually.
Yeah, I feel like there's a way you could. This is a hard one, I think, to tackle. Like I just mean in general, like if you're trying to make a movie out of that TV show. I think that I would have gone and looked at more of, if I were making this movie, I would have looked at more of the groundwork of how they did the Addams Family when they made the movie in the 90s.
And I had that in mind when I started the movie, that's what they were going to do. They were going to be really kind of true.
They were going to play it real.
And they didn't.
And who made that movie? Tim Burton.
That's, yeah.
but the thing is, like, it's like when you say comedy, right?
But look at the actors that were in that too.
Right.
I mean,
next level.
All right. Yeah. So
all of them: Christopher Lloyd, Raul Julia.
Yeah.
I mean, like Christina Ricci.
Yeah. No. So that just goes to show you, baby.
Don't cast your friends, and I mean that's. It's like, as an actor, I can play a lot of things, but like. You should cast me for things I'm actually right for. Right.
For directors, producers, and studio executives, the actor does matter.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
I'm about to start a movie tomorrow, and I just went and talked to them about it, and I was like, yeah, here's a way. And it's like a pretty over-the-top 90s style action comedy. It's a really cool script called Clone Cops. I'm pretty excited to do it with a bunch of locals, but like... When I go to them, and I'm kind of the comedic relief that's like, I know all about the weapons and stuff, but when I went to them, I was like, you have some pretty hilarious lines, but like, I'm going to play them straight. because that's what makes it funnier.
Right.
Like Will Ferrell is not. He's not a good example because he can be big and still be really believable. But like Kenny Powers on Eastbound and Down. What is so good about Danny McBride is like Kenny Powers believes all those things and he plays it straight, and that's why it's so funny.
Yeah.
Comedy 101.
Which by the way, that's an excellent series. So
that first season is maybe the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
But anyway, back to this travesty.
And it's poorly written too. Like it's really poorly written.
Well, I couldn't tell if it was poorly written, and I really thought about that, or if it was the acting was just so bad that they killed the script.
I think both.
I was like, okay, because I could see what was happening, the story that was transpiring. Obviously, I mean, it would pretty much telegraphed, but the acting in it was just, again, I couldn't get beyond it to really recognize anything else about that movie other than the fact that the acting was horrid. I just sat there for 2 hours in shock.
Yeah. So I was at my friend's house right before I came over here, and he's a comedian from LA, and he moved here during the pandemic, and talented actor, done a bunch of stuff. I go, I'm going to show you one scene because I'm about to go talk to my friend Andrew about this on a podcast. And he goes, okay. And I took him to the scene where he's playing, Herman Munster's band is playing, and it's that rockabilly hard rock kind of thing. And I go,
right.
This is the only watchable, entertaining scene in this movie. And it's not very good.
Okay.
And he watched it and he goes, oh, wow.
Yeah. Which I'm wondering, because when that came up, I was wondering, I'm going, oh my God, they filmed this after Elvis came out. Mm-hmm. And they were, they were feeding off of the success of that show. So I was just like, oh my gosh. That Herman Munster is a rock and roll star.
Yeah. Herman Munster, the rock and roll star. Jeff Daniel Phillips is that actor name.
There you go. I made no notes.
There's nothing to make a note on.
I didn't. I was ready to escape. I mean, at that point, they
also didn't have Eddie Munster.
No,
they
didn't.
They had a weird, which I think is strange. They didn't have him. I get it. I guess he thought there'd be a sequel. Yeah, because they think there'll be a sequel, and I'm
there's not going to be a sequel.
There's not by him. No, he honestly.
Oh, I think the franchise took a hit. I mean, I
think the franchise is dead. My friend Jason Marston was Eddie Munster in the '90s reboot they did, which is cool.
So,
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, he's a Nashville guy.
There you go. No, I was like, this was detrimental to the series, to the franchise, to the brand.
Yeah,
it really was.
I know that I'm younger than you by 10 years, but like...
Or 13.
13, but let's being kind. Yeah. I definitely remember these reruns being on all the time.
They still are.
Like Nick at Night is still probably a thing, right?
I don't know, but I think they're like on Cozy.
Okay.
One of those... WeTV or ITV, whatever.
Tubi. Something.
Yeah. I've seen them. Actually, on over the air. I think it's like Cozy or something like that. We Family 30 or something. Mm-hmm. But they're there. So
those actors did such a better job with the actors from the 60s.
Yeah.
With that ridiculous material. And it was so much more grounded.
Oh, yeah.
Then I can't even fathom what they were thinking. You know what my friend said today, and I agree. He goes, I mean, this would have been better if it were just a musical on Broadway. Then I would have bought what I was watching. I still would have had a problem with the script, but I'd have been like, I get it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I give it a big 2 thumbs down. Don't watch it. Don't waste your time.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I'm going to chew on the, it could have been a musical without music.
I mean, they would have needed to add music, but it would have been. He really thought this is going to have a sequel.
No way. Sorry. Unless it's in a contract, you might just get free. You just might get free money there, because I don't think the brand deserves a second hit.
Yeah, I just think that they would be like, that's enough of that.
Yeah, I would. I would say, okay, well, we need 10 years to heal on this before the brand can come back.
The last thing that I'll say about it, and then we can move on to talking about something I did enjoy.
Yeah.
The thing that bothered me the most, besides all the horrible acting, was you've done all this stuff on the costumes and all this stuff, but every person's hands are just completely normal people hands, but like painted whatever color the person was.
Right.
So like Grandpa's got all this stuff on, but his hands are just blue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or
Right.
like the skeletons playing the bass guitar and all that don't have skeleton hands.
I didn't pay attention to that, but now that you're saying that, I do remember that in the movie, that it was weird. And almost as weird, and I have to touch on this before we move on to something that I think we both enjoyed. The set. I did the movie Ernest Goes to Jail, and I worked on props, okay? I felt like I was at home in 1990. I think that's when we did that, 1990, Ernest Goes to Jail. And propping out Ernest's house, that was every scene set in this movie, was Ernest's house. It was overdone, and things were just purchased at the dollar store and shined up and stuck somewhere. No, it really did. It was very glossy. It was very, very glossy.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, all right. So let's. I'm gonna say avoid this movie at all cost. Don't waste your time. And Ted, we did that for you. So just move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So
we did that for you.
Yeah, that was, it was, and after that it was funny because Ted goes, "Have you watched?" And here's the next movie let's talk about: Hocus Pocus 2 on Disney Plus. Now, what was that on? What was Munsters on?
Netflix.
Netflix. All right, so
it's a Netflix original. Netflix gave them that money to make that. Pot committed.
They're going to have that in their vault to play every Halloween from here on out. They'll eventually get it back some way, somehow. But anyway, all right. So on Disney Plus, Hocus Pocus 2. That was, and what I was saying was, after we watched that movie, The Munsters, Ted said, "Have you watched Hocus Pocus 2?" And I hadn't. But I felt like after watching The Munsters, I had to cleanse my palate. And so I was like, oh, okay. Ted recommended the first one. Do I trust him? But I really need this cheese and cracker before I take another drink of wine here. So I did. I watched Hocus Pocus 2, and I'm going to say thank you, Ted, for cleansing my Halloween palate, because it did.
Yeah, it's you know what Disney does better than anybody else? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Here's your storyline. We're going to amp it up from what it used to be. It's going to be a little bit bigger, but it's like the thing that is so good about everything that Disney does is like they still seem like those 90s movies. Yeah. This seemed like it was just straight out of 1995.
How long has it been since Hocus Pocus 1?
93. So what is that? 20 almost
19 years.
Yeah. No. Almost 30 years.
Almost 30 years.
Yeah.
Almost 30 years.
I think they're on like 20.
And you would not really have known that, because they covered visually the difference in age of Hocus Pocus and Hocus Pocus 2 within the storyline. Yeah. And yet everybody, you were sold. You knew exactly who they were. Okay, and we understand what has transpired, in real time, almost 30 years.
Yeah.
But in movie time, I don't know, let's just say 5. You could believe that. Maybe 10.
Yeah.
You can understand, and they covered that in the storyline. And that was, as I was saying before, I always watch for acting, and then I move on to story.
They had both.
It did not take me long to get from the acting to the storyline.
Yeah.
Not at all. I
the
mean,
little girl that played at the top that played young Winnie Winifred Sanders, she was next level good.
No, that was, yeah.
She should be in everything.
Right.
Hollywood, I hope you're casting this little redheaded girl in everything.
Yeah, no, she did. She nailed it. And that's the thing. I had already transformed into storyline before we segued into Bet and Jessica, Sarah, and what's her name?
Kathy Najimy.
Yes, Kathy Najimy.
Great actress.
Yes. And so
Sister Act.
I was I was already sold at that point. So now I was paying attention to story and the detail of everything else that goes along with that because of that young actress in the beginning there. It was just amazing, the performance. It was, I'll be honest, she did as good a job, if not better, than anybody else that preceded her.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it was like, I wanted to be like, did this 14-year-old girl like literally, she must have watched the movie 100 times.
Yeah.
Because it was, her mannerisms were perfect. Like everything was perfect.
Yeah. No, she sewed the difference between the what would be a prequel to Hocus Pocus 2 altogether by selling who she was.
Yeah, we should run down for them what the overall story is. I can do that real quick. There's not a story in the Munsters, so there's no point in us running anything down. It's just a bunch of flip-flop, flippity-flop.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. You can, yeah.
Hocus Pocus 2, it picks up with the Sanderson sisters back in 1730, I think is what the year is.
Right.
And they're...
Salem.
Yeah, they're called to be witches. They go out in the forest. There's the real witch out there, and... The real witch, gives them powers and things like that and helps them become witches. And anyway, that all happens. And then we pick back up in 2021 or 22, whenever it is. And there's a young group of girls and one of them has gotten a boyfriend. And the two other ones, they don't hang out with her anymore. But they all used to have a kind of be witchy and do witch things together. But the other girl got the popular boyfriend who's the football player. And then... the guy that owns the magic shop in town tricks them into lighting the black candle and bringing the Sandersons back. And then I'm not going to ruin the rest of the movie for you, but that is basically the setup.
Yeah. Witch. The real witch. The first witch.
Yeah, from Ted Lasso.
Yes. Rebecca.
I love her. She's a great actress.
Yeah. Oh, unbelievable. Picked that right up. I was watching it and I go, oh my God, it's Rebecca.
Yeah.
It's Boss.
She's so good.
Bitch Boss.
Yeah, she was so good. You know who else was really good in this? I thought it was such an interesting take. Because I play a lot of not so good people. And like I was a little bit of a football player-y guy. I was a football player-y guy. But the interesting take on this one is instead of the football player-y boyfriend being this huge asshole, the funniest thing in the whole movie is when they're like, yeah, you're making fun of me. And he goes, I would never make fun of you. I thought we were just having a conversation. What are you talking about? He goes, you're always making fun of us for doing magic. He's like, yeah, cool. He was so funny. That was like that writing right there, the whole scene of like making him be like genuinely, I'm sorry. Now I got to go around and apologize to everybody that thinks I've been making fun of him. I was like, I love this kid. I love this writing. It made me laugh out loud when he did that scene.
Yeah, no, that... I did. I really, and I don't want to give any spoilers away, but again, it knocked it out of the park for me. The acting was phenomenal. The story was amazing. The sets.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it was really kind of transformative from where the story started to the end. Mm-hmm. It was very, very, very believable. And the cinematography, the way it was shot, it just flowed. It didn't have any hiccups for me. So I am a yes on Hocus Pocus 2. Now, I will say this. My wife watched it with me, and she loved it.
That's good.
No, she really loved it. I would have enjoyed this movie, and I'm going to shoot this out to all the dads out there. This is a great movie to sit with your kids and watch. It, for me, it was, I don't want to say it's a Disney movie.
It's a Disney movie.
It's a Disney movie.
It's
right.
It's all of those. It's Mighty Ducks. It feels like all of those.
It's a Disney movie. Now, see, and I've been encapsulated lately into the world of HBO and House of Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
And
Westworld.
And yeah, that's been my mindset from a viewing habit lately. I get into the groove. I'm out of the Marvels. I'm out of the Thors which
the last Thor I thought pretty good.
I'm going to disagree with you.
I don't love the Marvel movies, but I enjoyed that last Thor. I watched it 2 nights ago. It popped up, and I enjoy his directing. Taika Waititi.
Yeah, no, see,
Taika
Waititi. Yeah, I think this last one was a little over the top, and I'm just to end it on the fact I think they had so much success with the visual and the story with Ragnarok that they took this one, which I thought was it was right at the top storyline wise.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Ragnarok was at the top of the storyline, but they crossed it with this one. And I did not enjoy that as much as I thought I would. I was more hyped up for it. And I was really kind of let down because I thought it was over the top. But anyway, getting back, my mindset again, I am living in a world of every Sunday night. I cannot wait, and I start thinking about it on Thursday, and that is House of Dragons. I am so into that, and every winter, my wife and I, we sit down and rewatch, believe it or not, Game of Thrones. So that's my mindset. I liked Hocus Pocus 2, and I remember watching Hocus Pocus 1. I enjoyed it then, but I don't know. I got it. It was a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't turned off by it. I no time did I feel the desire to reach down and pick up my phone and play a game or check social media. I was in tune to it. It would have been, and I thought about it. I go, this would have been really great when my kids were 10, 12, 13 years old,
mm-hmm.
sitting on the couch with a big bowl of popcorn. They're grown up, they're gone, So those days are over. And, so.
I watched it with a 3.5-year-old.
Well, that's cheating.
I watched it with a 3.5-year-old. We were at my friends. We were having a little get together for Hocus Pocus. And she was 3.5, and I was like, let's see how she gets into it.
Uh-huh.
And she just loved it. She did fall asleep and have to pick up the last 45 minutes because we started too late, and it was like 8:45, and she's 3.5, and she's like, I got to go to sleep.
Well, see, you got to draw off of that energy. It's like going to the movie theater in L.A.
Yeah, but I rewatched it on my own. Because once she went to bed, we stopped because we were having adult beverages, and she was like, So we just hung out after that. But yeah, no, I rewatched the whole thing the next day.
Well, see, I thought while watching this movie, it would be so much more enjoyable watching it with someone young,
mm-hmm.
Because you feed off of their energy. And so I miss that. And I did think about, this, again, this, where are my kids? They're gone. They're grown up. They're, off dating, working. They're not at home watching a movie with
you.
Anymore. That's gone. I mean, I had flashbacks of watching Toy Story and Cars while watching Hocus Pocus, and it was just the void was there. So
I mean, there's a reason that if you're on Instagram or TikTok or whatever the new trend is, half the time it's like a Disney movie that they're like, when they use the sound clip where it's like. What is the one they use that's from Cars? Where it's like, there he is. There's Riley. And it's always like a dog running, and like the dog's running, and it's somebody's dog has died, and it's running to say hello to him.
Right.
And like, it's always these epic lines that they say and stuff. There's big moments, and there are home run moments in every single Disney movie.
Except for the fact that 9 out of 10 Disney movies start within the first 3 minutes somebody dies.
They
do.
I guess they do.
They do.
Somebody's dad is left, and we're gonna play baseball and get through this.
Always a death. My wife, she points it out when it happens. She looks at her watch or her phone, and she goes, "Okay, here we are.
Now we can sink in."
2 minutes and 52 seconds. Mom and Dad are dead. I mean,
Jumanji.
Yeah, Frozen.
You know, I haven't seen Frozen.
Where have you been?
The animated things missed on me. I don't watch a lot of cartoons.
Well, that's the kids.
I get it, and I mean, if I have kids, you know, with my now fiance-ish lady, then almost fiance. If that happens, then I guess I'll be watching Frozen about 6 years from now.
Well, Disney, I don't know if they still do it, but they had every 7 years they would re-release their movies, so you better get busy.
Better get pumped, yeah. I saw a re-release of Peter Pan when I was like 5. And the Bambi, they did it to Bambi forever.
Right. We were supposed to go see, I was 10 years old, and I was at a sports camp, and we were supposed to go see Jungle Book, but they had problems, and it was at the theater with the film, and we ended up watching Jaws. And it just first came out. I'm 10 years old. Watching Jaws.
Jaws is awesome.
Yeah,
Jaws holds.
At 10 o'clock, at 10 years old, it's
you
not
must have been
awesome.
terrified.
Yeah. No, it was, that was it. But anyway, every Disney movie you look at, or 9 out of 10 of them, they start in the first 3 minutes. Parents die. Somebody's dead. It's not a good thing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this was a good movie. The acting was phenomenal. It was a good story to tell. And you know what about the story? It was really well written.
Yes.
And
directed.
I admire well written shows. I really, really do. And I like to think that oh wow, that's somebody really sat down and thought this through.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of creativity in how this story was laid out. And in Hocus Pocus too. That's what it is. It was really well thought out. The originality of the story itself was great.
Yeah.
I mean, it just...
There's nothing I think you could change.
No.
I mean, if you don't like it, that's okay, but it's structurally very good.
Yeah, well, it kept me thinking the whole time. I never knew what was around the corner in the story.
Yeah. And
that's a good story when you don't know what's around the corner.
And Bette Midler is 78 years old. And Sarah Jessica Parker's like 54, and I think Kathleen Jean's...
I think you're being nice for Sarah Jessica.
She's
got to be older than me, and I'm older than that.
She's 58? She's not 60. We'd know it.
I don't know. We have to look that one up.
But I mean, that whole big dance number they did, I mean, that's them doing it.
Yeah. No.
Like, it is right up on their faces.
Yep. No, they did a great job.
That was probably a hell on earth day, too. Like a 12-hour just dance call.
I miss those days.
Do you?
I do. I miss making movies. I mean, I got out of making movies into making TV, and I do. I miss making movies because
that's
those
the most
days,
fun thing.
Yeah, it really is.
It's hard to explain it to people, but it really is. I'm looking up how old Sarah Jessica Parker is. 65. So that makes her... I mean, she was born in 65, so that makes her...
Wow, she's... Wow.
57.
57.
Close.
Yeah.
That's so weird. I just think of her as, like, not that old.
Right.
But I'm 43, so...
Now I feel like I squandered my youth. I mean, I'm watching her as a kid and teenager.
SquarePants.
And yeah, anyway, yeah. All right, so Hocus Pocus 2, again, good movie. If you got kids, dads, moms, watch it with them because you'll get more out of it because you'll feed off of that reaction they're getting from it.
Yeah.
And, which, that's, I personally, at the end of the movie, while I enjoyed every aspect of it, I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to watch this again.
I'm probably going to watch it again this week.
Okay, I'm not. I'm moving on.
After Terrifier 2, I gotta go back to kids' movies.
Well, I brought it up earlier, and that's The Queen's Gambit. I really, it's been over a year. I watched it when it first came out, so it might be going on 2 years. And I've been really wanting to sit down and watch that again because that movie, that series, just blew me away.
I'll watch more series because you're asking me to, but like honestly, when I see series, I'm like, I don't want to watch this. I want an hour and a half to 2 hours, and that story's wrapped up.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just assume keep moving, but there are so many good series out there.
Cobra Kai. I love it. It's somebody pointed out to me that every season has ended the exact same way, and I was like, yeah, awesome. In a big a huge karate fight. I hope every season ends that way.
All right, you can watch them with my wife. She likes them.
They're good.
I get it. I just, I wasn't a big fan when Wax On, Wax Off came out originally. Mr. Miyagi and all that. It was a good movie. It was all right.
You're too old for it. You were too much of a teenager to want to watch that movie.
I was too cool.
Yeah,
and my wife is younger than me, so she's, she probably falls into that category.
She was in junior high when it came out.
But
to me, it's like, look, it's the first movie I vividly remember seeing. That's it. I saw that movie and I saw Goonies around the same time because I think Karate Kid came out the year before Goonies, but I saw those two movies and Gremlins. Those are all the first movies I remember seeing. And I think it's formed my taste on everything. It's very Spielberg-y.
Yeah. Yeah. Growing up, we didn't go, our family, because obviously young, I couldn't drive myself to the theater. And we didn't do a lot of movies. We really didn't. And we didn't have cable back when I was growing up either.
We didn't have cable till I was 7. I remember it. It was awful.
Well, that puts me at close to 20. So
you didn't have cable in high school at all?
No, I lived out on a farm, and I didn't live in the city. And so only thing we had was over-the-air antenna. I mean, we were 4 channels. It was in high school, going to hang out at a friend's house was a big deal because they had cable. So... Not to
date you, but when did you graduate high school?
85.
85. Oh, man. Your high school experience, it would have been MTV.
Yeah. I know.
But you didn't have cable.
No, but I spent a lot of time over at my friend's house watching.
Yeah, I would have just been like every weekend. I'd have been like, I gotta go.
Yeah. No, I did. I practically lived at John Ootz's house in high school and middle school because they had cable. And they had everything. I mean, I guess I was in middle school.
They had all 27 channels.
They had all the premium channels.
Oh,
yeah. So there was,
we had HBO. I remember that.
They also had an Atari.
John
was living large.
Yeah.
For 1980.
He's killing it.
81. Yeah. Cable, Atari, and premium cable. And they had a swimming pool. I mean, and I lived on a farm with 120 acres and a lot of grass to cut.
No, I would have been at John's too.
Oh, yeah, right. I know. But that's why I got in the business. I was just trying to make up for everything that I lost.
Yeah.
I knew. Well, I kind of fell into it. I wanted to go into advertising. And so when I was doing my internship in college, John's dad was in advertising. And he said, "Oh no, you need to do your internship at a production company so you can learn how they make commercials. It'll help you learn how to write them if you see how they make them." And which made perfect sense, and I get it now. I mean, you know the tricks and how to pull things off, and so I went to work at a production company, or did my internship there. 30s Film and Tape. They were one of the leading commercial houses in the nation, based here in Nashville, and I learned just tremendous amount. And then I just got sucked into doing it because everybody knew I was a PA, and the film community wasn't that big. And I was up in Knoxville, and I got a call to go, "Hey, we're doing Ernest Goes to Jail. You want to be in props?" And I was like, "Yeah.
Of course I do."
Yeah.
With Jim Varney.
I know, right?
Sumner County treasure right there. He was a heck of an actor.
He was a great guy.
Yeah, I always heard that. I always wanted to be an actor, and I was always so jealous that I wasn't one of the little kids in Ernest Goes to Camp.
Yeah. No, he was, did you know Matt Mathers?
Yeah, I know Matt.
Okay, so he was in this.
Matt was in it. He was one of the asshole kids.
Yeah.
Him and what's that? Buster.
Buster Cherry, yeah. Buster, the creator of Ernest. Yeah. Oh, he was a great guy. Well, I'm actually in Ernest Goes to Jail.
Are you?
Yeah, I am. I'm
gonna watch Ernest Scared Stupid this week.
There you go. Ernest, we had such a hard time with Ernest taking his cue for a line when they were going through the chow line in jail. And I just happened to be in the vicinity. The whole crew dressed up in prison outfits that day because we needed a large body of, prisoners, because it was the cafeteria scene. And so instead of paying for extras, I'm already paying for these people to work.
That's the trick of the trade.
Right.
Yeah.
So everybody report to costume this morning and pick up your uniform. And we did, but I just happened to be in the vicinity of Buster, and the guy who was behind the counter serving Ernest was his cue to start his line, because his back's to the camera. So when the potatoes hit the tray, Ernest was supposed to do his line, and this guy just was spacing out, and Buster just turned and goes, "You go down there. You're now the potato man." So, and I actually ended up being more of a food service kind of guy, which became the cue for Jim. And when I popped back up underneath the tables with the trays, "Jim, there's your line. There's your cue."
That's pretty cool.
It was, yeah. Well, the thing is because Jim's got this back to the camera, I got my face to the camera.
Yeah.
I'm right there. So
Find your light.
Yeah. Well, I've never been real comfortable in front of the camera, but that was it. That was a great movie. That was a lot of fun. I learned how to drive an 18-wheeler on that show.
They never rebooted Ernest.
So
you can't reboot Ernest. He's one of a kind.
No, there's no way to do that.
But there was a point where he was probably the most popular kids actor in for a year or so. He was probably one of the most popular children's actors.
Oh yeah,
because you got to think, like, they definitely fell off towards the end. I looked at all of them one day and I was like, I've never even heard of some of these. But Ernest Goes to Camp, Ernest Saves Christmas, Ernest Scared Stupid, Ernest Goes to Jail were all huge hits.
Yeah. I mean, well, and all those commercials were great.
Yeah.
I did a couple of those after I did Ernest Goes to Jail. They just kind of work with the same people. And so I got to do commercials. He was a pro because he was syndicated. I mean, he would, he did a bank spot, in one state instead of Purity Milk like he did here in Tennessee. So everybody knew Ernest as the bank guy, in I don't know, Oklahoma.
The car guy.
Yeah.
I remember he did car commercials too. "Hey, Vern, it's me, Ernest. I'm up here at Capitol Ford."
He did everything. I mean, and it was a machine. They had a house over in Belmead, and that was pretty much the hero house. and we would just get in there and just knock off spots all day long. Right there, he was just boom, 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 boom. He was great.
He's like a Shakespearean trained actor too, isn't he?
He is.
Or it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, when you see him on like when he was towards the end of his life and he did Roseanne, it's like really good.
I didn't see. That was one of the shows I didn't watch. So
he's playing an upper crust man, and he's very wealthy, and he's doing it very well.
Yeah, I could see him.
He's an example of you. And I tell young actors this when I talk to groups of actors, I'm like, you can be big and believable. He's a perfect example.
Yeah.
What he's doing is very big and just over the top, but somehow it's weighted in some sort of, you care about Ernest and you know.
I think the thing with him is when you say that though, is even though he is big and he's over the top, he's relatable.
Yes,
I mean, you know, he's the guy you think your uncle is. You know, you've met him once in your life, and you know, he's Ernest.
I got an idea. How about we watch every Ernest film and have an entire talk about see how long we can talk about the films of Ernest P. Worrell.
Nah,
I think we could get Matt Mather to show up over here and definitely talk with us about it. I think you could probably is Buster.
He's passed.
He's passed.
He's passed.
Yeah. And we could definitely get some people that worked on some Ernest stuff to come over here and chit chat with us.
Oh yeah, I know a lot of them.
I'm gonna rewatch Ernest Scared Stupid. Maybe tonight. I'm excited about it now.
No, I'm gonna chew on that one.
Just think about it.
I don't know if I'm there yet. I'm more forward thinking in what I want to view. Like, well, tonight's House of Dragons.
You got to. I don't watch that show, but you love it.
It's amazing.
I watched the final episode of Game of Thrones. I think I got it. I saw it. It was.
No, you didn't.
I can't get into dragons and I don't like Lord of the Rings.
You know what? I don't like that stuff either. But you know, when we started watching Game of Thrones, I'll be honest with you. I don't know why we started it. Maybe it was because I said, you know, we got HBO. And it was there, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is Game of Thrones. This is what everybody's raving about," you know, because we weren't too far out of the picture when we got HBO. Matter of fact, I think it was the final season of Game of Thrones when we got HBO, so it was a big deal. So we started at the beginning, and I was like, "Wow, this is a really good story." I mean, I can overlook the mud and the grossness of it all, and it is. It's just, you know, it's medieval.
Yeah.
But the story was just so compelling, and the actors were really, really good. So we watched ever since we started it, which was 4 years ago. Every winter, my wife and I, we sit down. And we say, winter's coming. We binge Game of Thrones. But
we got to think you're right. I'm going to focus on new stuff.
Yeah.
So
well, that's why we're here to help people weave their way through the amount of shows. Like, do not watch Munsters. Watch Hocus Pocus. We're going to steer you clear of wasted time. If you're a Rob Zombie fan, you're going to be totally disappointed.
Yes.
He needs to stick with the Devil's Reject, things that you're going to expect horror out of and gore and all those things that come with Devil's Reject. You that's good. Stick with that, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want something to sit with your kids, even if you're my age and you want to be nostalgic about your youth, go back and watch Hocus Pocus 2. Nothing wrong with it. Good story, great acting, great story. I like movies that I don't know what's around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of them. I didn't know what was around the corner with Munsters because there were no corners.
No, it was disjointed. It was just a bunch of random scenes.
Yeah.
It's like, eventually we're going to go to America and Mockingbird Lane.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I completely agree with both of your views on that.
No Munsters, but Hocus Pocus 2 should be a must. It is a must if you've got kids. They're going to love it.
Yeah, show them part 1 first and then show them part 2.
Yeah, most definitely. And they're both there on Disney Plus. So if you've got that, and if you don't, I'm sorry. You take advantage of the free trial.
Yeah.
I've done that. I've signed up for my 15 days, and all right, I keep it or let it go.
They also, we're not going to get into any more shows today, but they have some good TV shows on Disney Plus.
Oh yeah,
like newer ones. They're good.
Yeah, well, without getting into it, all the Star Wars. My family are big Star Wars fans, so all the series that have come out based on Star Wars, yeah, we've watched, and they're good. They put money behind it. It's really good storytelling, and I'm not an over the top Star Wars guy, but I'll sit with my wife and watch them because
they're entertaining.
She is over the top Star Wars.
I actually, off air, I'm going to tell you the next series we need to get ready for. I just thought of something.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm ready. But tonight's going to be, since it's a Sunday, it's House of Dragons. You can go watch Ernest.
I might. I just got my Shudder app back. Do you have Shudder?
No.
It's a horror movie app that's in TV series app by AMC, so it's really good horror movies, and they put out like cool stuff. So I might watch something from that because my set call is not till like 12 tomorrow, so I got plenty of time.
Well, my idea of horror is more on the lines of Game of Thrones or House of Dragon. I mean, there's plenty of gore in those. I've never been. Halloween is my least favorite time of the year.
Oh, it's the most wonderful time of the year. I get depressed when November comes.
Yeah, I had my roommate and I in college. We threw a Halloween party, and the next morning it was literally roll out of the bed and drop the mic. That was it. That was the coup de grace of all Halloween parties. The cops showed up. Everybody, and this was up in Knoxville. We lived in an apartment complex. And the cars were parked along the street all the way down to the main road, Kingston Pike. I mean,
oh wow,
no, it was ridiculous. It was.
You've had your fair share of Halloween.
Yeah, well, it was. That was it. It was a great costume party. I've never been a Halloween guy up to that. But if you're gonna do it big, and we did, and now it's over.
Well, see, I'm an actor, and a bunch of my friends are actors or singers and they all love to do it up on Halloween.
See, I'm more on the other side of that, though. I like when the kids come to give out stuff. And again, that comes with the producer background that I have.
I'm a terrible producer, so.
So anyway, all right, well, we're going to figure out off air what we're going to be watching. Apparently, Ted's got something up his sleeve here. And but we're going to leave you with those two movies that we did watch, and Munsters, no.
Mm-hmm. Hocus Pocus, yes.
Too. Yeah. That's it.
That's it.
All right. Well, till next week. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
I'm Ted.
I'm Andrew, and this is Streaming Without a Paddle. Talk to you later. Bye.